The Eighth Doctor has returned in Echoes, Echoes,
Echoes,
Echoes,
echoes,
Echoes,
echoes.
Echoes, with three stories, which are Birdsong, Tweet
By
Tweet,
Tim Foley,
Lost Hearts,
by Lauren Mooney and Stuart Pringle,
and Slow Beasts.
by Dan Reboletto.
The last time we heard Liv and Helen and the Eighth Doctor was in December 2022 with the wonderful box set Connections, which
Hmm.
was a great run of stories with what lies inside and connections. So,
Yeah, both released November and December, so pretty much a clean one, really. It was like a nice little six-episode series, really. And here we've got this one off on its own, and on a set of three individual stories. Which I mean, we've done a separate video talking about how we feel about
the Eighth
that and the Eighth
Doctor
Doctor in general. But here we're talking about Echoes itself.
as a release, yeah.
Yeah. It's a bird song. How are we feeling?
I think this is my favorite of the box set. There's
I
not
agree.
there's not a lot to it, but I think I really enjoyed the character moments between the Doctor, Liv, and Helen. It's
It's a smaller cast, isn't it? You've got the main trio, and so it does things do get quite intimate. It's set on this colony world where two scouts are already there waiting for the rest of their colony to arrive. It's all futuristic stuff, but at the same time, it's made to appear rather rustic,
yes,
which does nicely fit with the aesthetic we see in uh, Wirrn Isle, which is another story which sort of ties into the Ark in Space. I mean, this one doesn't really, but on the cover, you do see them wearing that same
uniform.
uniform. It's sort of set around that same time period. So there's a nice bit of connective tissue there in the world building. But it's not Wirrn you have to watch out for this time. It's why can you hear bird song when there aren't any birds? There shouldn't be any creatures at all living on this planet. And so it's something that's usually rather, it's nice to wake up to in the morning, isn't it? A bit bird song. But suddenly, when there shouldn't be birds, it becomes a little bit creepy. Yeah, and it's just this interesting little character study, really.
It's this sort of Grimm's fairy tale meets like an Alfred Hitchcock
Mm,
film, then it turns
yeah,
into something else entirely, and I like
yeah.
that.
There's some pretty dark places, actually.
It does, it does. Yeah, exploring sort of memory, and I
Yeah.
think the setting of this quite dense forest. Yeah, it's really great. And it's got some nice little creepy moments within it, and it plays with sort of those moments where you're expecting a jump scare, but it's something completely different. So I like how it leans into that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's a pretty strong story to start off this set with. I think ultimately I was thinking, that was pretty good, but I'm not yet wowed with this box set. I'm hoping something else comes along, this momentum carries on, and I get blown away later on. I never really got that.
I
How
was
about
thinking
you? Were you
Lost
wowed by
Hearts.
this first?
Yeah, I
Mm,
think Birdsong was like, wow, this is amazing. This is great.
mm.
Live, Helen, and the Eighth Doctor, because they're just having fun and they're just trying to get,
There is
you know,
wonderful banter.
yeah, they're just
That
out
joke about
exploring.
the sonic screwdriver being used as an emergency bookmark.
Yeah, it's just got lovely moments like that where you're like, oh yeah, this is really nice to have these sort of little adventures with Liv and Helen.
Hmm. I mean, what were you going to say about Lost Hearts, the second story in the set?
You were talking about being wowed. Lost Hearts was the one I would put money on that that would be the one what I would absolutely love and adore. And sadly, it just didn't work this one.
I mean,
Coming
we've
off,
not long. Were you going to mention the Dream Team?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, because that's another one set in a university, isn't it? The Merfolk murders. I was about to say the same thing.
And
You know,
I was thinking as well the Eighth Doctor and Charlie one, the Hollow Man, I think is it, or the
Empty Man.
Empty Man, that's it.
You're thinking, yeah,
A
in
mixture of
the
those two.
previous set. Um, what in the Bleak Midwinter?
Yes,
You
but
know,
that sort of does a
with
similar idea in a way, but I think that one does it way better.
yeah, it's not as creepy at all as I was saying. Like, that's not to say it doesn't get the horror vibe. It doesn't feel like it's going for the horror vibe, which is fair enough. It wasn't the story we were expecting it to be.
But when you've got writers like
But
Stuart Pringle and Lauren Mooney who really thrive in that, look at Grey Mare,
hmm,
which is a great little horror story.
yeah, we were very excited for it because we do have very much enjoyed a lot of their work before, particularly in that folk horror genre. And still do look forward to their upcoming stuff like the Third Doctor Adventures, the Quintessence.
Mm.
But yeah, here something just doesn't work for me.
See, I
I d-
restarted this one thinking, oh, it must be a me issue, but I
mm,
did it again. I was like, no, that it is a story thing.
yeah, something just feels very off with it. Nothing really comes together. I never really gelled with it at all, sadly. Like, sometimes you have stories where within those first few scenes, you're like, right, I'm vibing with this. This is working.
Hmm.
This one, it just never got to that point, sadly.
Yeah, which is a shame because it's a ghost story. You've got this great sort of imagery, sort of
Hmm.
exploring it. You've got some nice sort of sinister moments like the sort of ritual and sacrifice thing, and it's interesting that we're exploring more of Helen's family again. Whether this is
Hmm.
gonna be a big thing because we have Helen's grandfather studying
Yeah. Yeah. Could something be tying together there, perhaps?
because we
Or is it
had
just
Albie's angels as well,
coincidence?
didn't we?
Yeah.
Previously.
I mean, that would only be two stories ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, with this one, I don't know what to say. It's just,
I give it a 6.
I might go five,
Yeah,
really. Like,
yeah.
no, yeah, just very little about it worked for me. It has a few odd fun lines, but yeah, I was really let down by this one, which is a shame. But Slow Beasts by Dan Reboletto, a new writer to Big Finish, ends this set. And it doesn't quite end it on a high. I'd say it's just pretty
It's
good.
solid. It's solid.
Yeah,
Dan Starkey's getting his paycheck within this. He's
indeed.
he does a lot of supporting characters in this. Like I think my favorite is definitely the tour guide,
Mm,
um, and then obviously he plays pretty much the whole prison section,
yeah,
like the
it's a rather
guards.
fascinating concept, this
Yes.
story, this world where you have this race of people who live harmoniously with these huge creatures called the slow beasts, whose metabolism is so slow that they're living life in slow motion, really.
Yeah, like their heart
Uh,
beats every like 2 days, isn't it? Something like that.
yeah, something like that. So they look like giant statues, really, but over time they do slowly move, and these people move their settlements around, in order to avoid getting stepped on, really.
Hmm.
Uh, and as you'd expect from a Doctor Who story, there's a twist. Suddenly they start speeding up again. There's this wonderful mystery as to why that's the case, and I quite like how that does all play out.
Hmm.
But yeah, for me, it just felt a bit by the numbers Doctor Who in many ways.
I think once you get the idea of what the story's doing, you're like, oh, I've heard this. This is very sort of traditional Doctor Who,
Hmm. Yeah,
which
which
is
is
not
sort of,
bad,
no,
but
there's
you kind of
nothing
expect
too
something.
wrong with it, but
Mhm.
there's nothing amazingly right with it at the same time.
I think the world building for it is great with this sort of society who are
Hmm.
like nomads who favor Time Lords. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, it was nice having this seemingly rural setting, but at the same time, they're these people who are quite advanced
Mm.
and are aware of the Time Lords and such, and aware of the Doctor even.
Yeah.
Mate, that was quite an interesting. It's just a different way to tell a story, really, because you
Yeah.
don't as often have that. But yeah, beyond that, the story being told fairly straightforward. I don't.
I think this the start of the story really sums up the box set really for Liv and Helen want to be wowed.
That's
and
us.
and you're kind of waiting like Birdsong I adored it a lot. And then you're just kind of waiting for the next sort of wow. moment, but yeah, Slow Beast is fine.
Hmm. I think that's this whole box set, really.
Yeah, it's fine.
As a
Like
whole, it
it's a dip.
balances itself out.
It's a
Yeah.
dip in the McGann quality. Because if I was to recommend a McGann box set of recent years, I don't think it would be this one.
It's been a strong run these
Yeah,
last
that's the
four
thing.
box
They've been
sets.
so brilliant.
Yeah. And I think the two-parters in particular have been the strongest. Like you've got Paradox of the Daleks and the Great Cyber War, which are some incredible pieces of storytelling. And I think that's where the Eighth Doctor is at its best at the moment. And so having a box set without a two-parter here, I think you really feel that absence. And I
Hmm.
hope what's to come in December's Deadly Strangers includes a two-parter. Really.
Yes.
'Cause, again, we're looking for that wow, like Liv
Mm.
and Helen. We can
Yeah.
relate to them in that respect. We are Liv and Helen.
Yes. And
And
Big
Big Finish.
Finishes McGann.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
That's a good way to sum up this review, really. Our
Yeah.
thoughts are, yeah, it's fine. It's serviceable. A decent enough time,
You'll
but
have a good time with it.
yeah, there's much better things from Big Finish that you can spend your money on. You
Hmm.
know, if you've not got any Eighth Doctor box sets yet, I think of the relaunch box sets, What Lies Inside, Connections, Audacity, and In the Bleak Midwinter, you're better off going for any of those four over
Hmm.
Echoes, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, because it has been a strong run for McGann, and it's a little hiccup. Hopefully, business as usual again by Deadly Strangers. But yeah, that's all I've really got to say. There's nothing too damning to say about it. There's nothing I can latch onto and say this is amazing about it either.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
a probably
I
like
just
a
felt a
7
bit,
out of 10 box set, really.
yeah, maybe even six. I don't know. Just yeah, let me sort of hollow. It's you listen and then you forget and you move on.
Hmm.
Ah. Oh, well, it's a rather depressing note
That's
to
a bit
end
of a
on,
hollow
but
way to end. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us for this review. Um, yeah,
we
like
can be positive. We
can
promise.
we
We have,
we've got positive reviews, but yeah, it's just the way these videos are coming out. we've
yeah,
uh, we've just sort of hit a bit of a bit of a lull, I guess, in
mm,
quality.
yeah. Hopefully, things are changing though.
Hmm.
July looks very exciting. We'll be coming at you with plenty more reviews and other videos in the very near future. Take
Thank
care,
you, everyone,
everyone.
and bye bye.